Oh God, if I have to eat another salad, I'm going to turn green. I am so over going to the gym. Boredom happens. Unfortunately, boredom often spells the end of many weight loss journeys as well. If boredom happens, then how do we overcome it so that we don't throw in the towel on our weight loss and ourselves? With thin thinking, of course. So come on in and get ready to get excited about boredom. Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast, where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life. Hey everybody, come on in and get started with me. I am excited because this weekend I am going to be getting the dirt ready for my fall winter garden. Do I have any other gardeners out there who are excited about dirt? I'm also going to be planting California poppy seeds. I did this way too late last year. This was something that I learned. I have a friend who's a gardener, and she came over to my house and she was looking at some things because I get some advice from people. I really am into mastering my garden, and so killed a lot of plants this year. I grew a lot of plants, had a lot of success, but you kill a few plants along the way. It's a great metaphor for any mastery journey. No mastery journey looks perfect. So I asked my friend who knows a lot more about gardening than me, hey, why didn't my California poppies grow? And when she said, when did you put the seeds in the ground? I was like, well, February. She was, oh, please, you've got to start in October. Who knew? So I never realized, I always thought poppies were kind of like weeds and they just grew really fast, but they actually need some time to put down roots and grow. So I'm very excited because I love California poppies. I used to think that certain aspects of gardening were really boring. All I was into was the glamorous stuff, the planting the seeds, planning what I was going to grow, picking whatever the flowers or picking the fruit or the vegetables. But as I've gotten into gardening more, like for instance, I used to think dirt was boring. I thought I had friends who were gardeners, and they would start to talk about the different levels of pH and acid and the fertilizers. And I was like, that's boring. I'll just put some amend in the ground and it's going to work, and the seeds will grow, and that's that, end of story. But as I've gotten more sophisticated, sophisticated probably isn't the best word for it, but as I've gotten more into gardening and the more subtle levels of gardening, let's say, I have begun to really get into dirt and appreciate dirt and the kinds of dirts and the different microclimates in my garden. I mean, it's fascinating when you get underneath the surface of all of that. But I used to think that all was boring. So I work with a lot of people and I see a lot of journeys to weight mastery. And let's face it, one of the fastest roads to falling off your weight release journey is getting bored. Am I right? So I wanted to dive into this and dig into the dirt of weight loss boredom today. And will you dig with me? friends. Can I say enough puns for you today? So let's start with where we are usually not bored, which is at the beginning of a diet or a plan of some sort. This is the glamorous and sexy part of weight loss, right? So first of all, it's new and exciting. We've got this new plan. We've got a lot of steam under our belt. We're going to lose some weight. We've got the different things, the specific foods we're going to eat, and the way it's going to change our life. And our dopamine and reward brain is engaged, right? So we've got a little bit of high. It's kind of like a new relationship, right? We're kind of in love with the idea of the diet and love with ourselves being in the diet. And there's a structure, therefore a lack of chaos. And we love that because we spend a lot of our time struggling with our weight in a lot of chaos, inner chaos, external chaos. So the fact that we are in a structure and we know our place in the structure, man, that feels so good. And the focus, we know what we're going to do and not do. This makes us feel safe. And there's a willingness. Why? Because we're in so much pain. It's so painful to be in that chaos and to feel out of control and to be gaining weight. So we're so willing. We're so willing at this point. And we start off and it's all amazing. We're compliant. We feel great. We get on the scale every morning, or maybe we do, and we're losing weight, or our clothes are fitting us better. But somewhere along the way, things begin to change. The honeymoon is over. We've now been eating this thing a week, 2 weeks, a month. And there's a little sameness to that food. And there's not so much dopamine floating around in our brain anymore. We have the structure down. So guess what? That structure begins to feel like it's hemming us in. It kind of feels monotonous. And guess what? We're getting on that scale and we're releasing that weight a little more slowly. Way less fun. The dopamine hit on the scale has been replaced by frustration and anxiety. I'm not doing this right. Why did I not lose weight yesterday? Why did I gain weight? This diet isn't working. My body's broken. We start to have limiting beliefs. Those limiting beliefs that had gotten pushed to the back of our mind are starting to find their way back to the front of our mind. We feel a bit restless. We're stuck in a feeling of sameness. It's presenting us as one big snooze fest. And this is where we might find ourselves slipping, getting off track, reaching for things that aren't on plan. Well, I've been so good. Just have that one thing tonight. Ooh. Well, okay, since I had that one thing, I might as well have this other thing. And then, I'll have that thing too. And then tomorrow I'll just get back right on that diet and I'll be good. Oh, maybe not. It's the weekend. We'll get really back on it on Monday. I promise we are going to be so good on Monday. You watch me. I'm going to just do like this diet like it's never been done. Does that sound familiar? So if you're feeling bored, here's some advice. Well, here's a way to look at it. I'm going to go out on a limb here because this is a little radical, you guys. But I'm going to shake this up a bit now, and I'm going to put it out there to you that you are not really bored. When this is happening, you're not really bored, but your brain is telling you a boring story about what you're doing and who you are being. Your relationship to your weight mastery journey has gotten boring, and it needs a reframe. So I would like to look at what you may consider boring through some new eyes and offer you some thin thinking. So first of all, we get that sensation. The honeymoon is over. It's not as fun as it used to be. And I get it. The fun wears off on a lot of things that we're committed to, right? I mean, I think about things like marriage. Those of you who are married less than 7 years, maybe you won't laugh as hard as those of us who've been married for many, many years. This year was 33 for me. And I'm married to the man of my dreams, my soulmate. I love him dearly. But, sometimes marriage can be monotonous and boring. And again, I go back to, it's not really boring, but it's the story we tell ourselves. So other things like even children can be boring. Love my children, but being a parent sometimes can be monotonous and boring. But I'm still committed to my children. I'm still committed to my husband. Having good dental hygiene, brushing your teeth. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, right? But I do it every day, a couple times a day, 3 times a day sometimes. And I stand there and I hum or I think about other things, but not the most scintillating thing in the world, but I do it because I'm committed to my teeth. And even having a clean house. Sometimes people are really excited about cleaning the house. I'm not one of those people, but I do it because my life works better when my house is clean. So some things are not always exciting, but our commitment to them is. My commitment to my children, my commitment to my marriage really thrills me. Even though the actual, my commitment to my weight mastery has never been boring. It's always been exciting because I'm committed to being free. I'm committed to that person I am when I'm taking awesome care of myself. That's never boring. That's never boring. So I want you to start to look at your weight mastery, and this idea that it's boring. And think about your commitment to yourself. And think about the fact that you are really on a hero's journey. Because sometimes I think the way we see ourselves becomes boring, right? Oh, I'm on this diet. I'm just struggling because we really put our struggle with our weight in this place of shame in our brain. And yeah, that can get boring, being ashamed of ourselves, ashamed that we're like this struggler and we're struggling away and we don't like to see ourselves this way. So when we go on a diet in the beginning days, we start to see ourselves in a different way, maybe hold ourselves with a little more pride. But when things start to get a little, same, that feeling of shame starts to come back, or we start to feel less good about ourselves. But I want to remind you, your commitment to your weight mastery journey, you're a hero. Heroes have obstacles always thrown at them, even boredom. And overcoming boredom is an obstacle that expands you and makes you more of you. And I think when we get bored, I think we go to our place of shame, our place of like, why do I even have to lose weight in the first place? I'm a loser because I have to lose weight. What other people are luckier than me? We can go to a very negative, limiting place instead of remembering who you are. And I want you to remember who you are. You are a hero on a powerful journey. And every obstacle you overcome, even boredom, you are expanding yourself. You are becoming more of who you are. It's a journey of self-realization. Yes, weight loss is included, but this was really about your becoming your best self, stretching past where you stop, and taking 100% responsibility, folks. That makes it more exciting. When you take 100% responsibility for your weight mastery journey, that you're not a victim of anybody or your circumstances or anything, it gets exciting really fast because you have to hold yourself accountable and you have to get really creative. And sometimes you have to have uncomfortable conversations with yourself or with other people. That's not boring. That's kind of exciting. And it definitely stretches you. Hey, and let me remind you, it's not weight loss's fault. I think we think, oh, weight loss, so boring. Weight loss is weight loss. You're bringing the boring to it. You're making it seem boring. You're calling it boring. Weight loss is just innocent. It's just the act of releasing weight. And all the other crapola that you put on it, you pile on it, that's your stuff. So get 100% responsible and start putting some of that crapola in the doggy do bag, putting that in the trash, and starting to clean up and take responsibility and be powerful. And remember, you are a hero. I remember, maybe some of you remember With Me, Mary Tyler Moore's show. Maybe some of you younger folks saw it in syndication a couple of times. And I don't know if you remember the newscaster Ted Baxter. He was a silver-haired, smooth-talking, a bit of a dumb blonde, but very handsome, played by Ted Knight, I believe. Brilliant comedian. And Mary Tyler Moore played this news producer in this, and she was, sort of a female ahead of her time, a first producer of a TV station in Minneapolis. And there was an episode where, this was probably a few seasons in, I think it was 7 seasons, 8 seasons long. It's about halfway through the show. And she used to live in this one-room apartment, sort of a studio apartment, and she had a girlfriend upstairs, and she went through this depressed time where she just was like, my life is so boring. And she said, I just get up and I eat breakfast and I go to work and I eat lunch and I work some more and I go home and I eat dinner and I go to bed. And then I get up and I do it again and again and again. And she's just sitting there very mopily. Everybody else around her is kind of going, yeah, I get it. But Ted, the anchor man, he's like, well, Mary, I have the answer for you. And everybody turns and looks at him with expectant eyes. And he says something. But it's not even what he says, it's the way he said it. It's so simple and it's so brilliant, but it's such an idiot savant sort of thing to say. He's like, well, Mary, you've just got to eat breakfast in the morning. And then you've got to go to work. And then you eat your lunch. And then you do more work, And so he's like, he's very animated as he's, very excitedly eating breakfast and excitedly going to work. And that is so true. That you could have this frame on your life like it's boring, this frame on the way you eat like it's boring. You can have this frame on your exercise and think it's boring. Or you can start to get curious about it and go, how can I bring some excitement to this? Because the more we just put that word boring over everything, the more it suppresses it and brings it down in our brain. And let's open up and let some light in and start to reframe how we see these things to ourselves. If you're bored with food, well, then get excited about some food, find some new recipes, go to the grocery store, give yourself an extra half hour to look for things outside of what you normally get. We tend to eat the same foods. And folks, can I just tell you, the bad things you eat about 10 of the bad meals, and when you're eating healthy, 10 good meals. You know what I mean? So it's not like when you're eating bad that it's so much more variety. In fact, it's probably a lot less variety than when you're eating healthfully. So don't tell me eating healthfully is boring. There's nothing boring about it, but our approach to it can become stagnant. But that's up to you. You've got to bring some excitement. Same thing with exercise. Change it up. I can't tell you how many times I've learned new exercise. We have a woman in our group who brings all these wonderful different new exercises she finds, eccentrics, qigong, she's always trying new things. And I think it's so smart because it keeps us in the game. It keeps us exciting. Even planning. I think the more you plan, I think we think of planning as boring, but planning really gives you a structure and a feeling of safety that sometimes allows you to experiment within it. And last but not least, create a mantra. Create a mantra that is a mantra that is going to make you excited about getting up and living your day. Today we had a meeting with my group, and somebody had been just in this place, and she created a mantra that she said, "I'm not my feelings, I am not my emotions, I am the actions that I take." I love that. And she just started to take simple actions that she was putting off or avoiding. And it made her feel so good. She said she had been so productive over the last few days. So create a new mantra for yourself. Okay, another cause of boredom, you're releasing weight more slowly. And definitely that's a cause of a lack of dopamine. I think one of the things that we do is really put all the attention on the scale. It's all about the weight loss. We run to see how much weight we've lost or how our clothes fit us. And I want to remind you that the long-term journey, I mean, I get it. It's exciting in the beginning. It's a transformational process. You're seeing the scale go down. But we can become addicted to that. And, we're used to our dopamine hit, the scale's down. So when it doesn't go down, or it doesn't go down for a few days or a week, it becomes really hard for us because that feeling, we kind of almost go through withdrawal because we're not getting our fix on the scale. And then we become interested in the diet rather than really looking at this more as a holistic approach. It's not just about weight, but it's all about the bigger picture. You can negate the process by just looking at your weight. You want to create, so here are some things you can do. You can create a sexier vision of who you are becoming. Because I think sometimes, like I said, we start to look at ourselves kind of as in the same old rut. Oh, here I am struggling with my weight, and oh gosh, this is boring, and I've got to be on a boring diet, and I'm a loser. Rather than being on a journey of who you are becoming, really create that vision of you 20, 40, 60 pounds out the scale, or ideal weight, not when you reach your weight, but 5 years into it. Who is that you out in your life living fully? Because that you did not take no for an answer. That you had resilience and tenacity. That you is out in their life being a leader in their life. Because when you release weight and keep it off, others watch you and they're like, wow, I want some of what they have. Now, they might not need to release weight, but they see that journey and they're like, that person did something. I want that too. So don't underplay the powerful journey that you're on and the example that you are setting for your kids, for your friends, for the people in your community. You have a saying, alone we diet, together we shift. We can shift this world just by starting to truly shift ourselves. Create rewards that entice you along the way. I can't tell you how motivating this is when you know you're going to get a massage when you reach that 20-pound goal, or when you've gotten used to, when you've worked up to going 5 days to the gym, going away for a trip to the beach for the weekend, or buying yourself a new exercise product or a new outfit to exercise. Give yourself rewards along the way. Treat yourself. Start living your life now and do stuff that scares you and that represents who you're becoming. Again, going back to that sexy vision, is that you dancing? Well, take some dance lessons. Is that you traveling? Take a foreign language class. Do the things you're putting off. I'll do that when I get thin. Really? Well, start doing it now, because putting all those things onto when you get thin, that's going to make getting thin really scary in your subconscious mind. So liven up your weight release journey by living your life now. Let's do it. Come on. What are you going to do by the end of the year that you've never done before that will say to you, I'm on an extraordinary journey of weight mastery? Maybe it's taking a cooking class, a healthy cooking class. Maybe it's putting yourself on a dating app, a safe one, of course, but putting yourself out there, making a new friend, starting a walking group. Do something that represents to you this is just not about running and getting on the scale, but that this is about who you are becoming. Okay, another reason for being bored is you might not feel challenged. That happens a lot of times. So one of the things that you can do is to deepen your journey by deepening your skills. And what I mean by that is, just like with me in gardening, there's many surface things with weight loss that are the glamorous things, weighing yourself, the actual diet itself, certain things that you would think about when you go on a diet. But I'm talking about, there's really a skill set of weight mastery, and that whenever I'm feeling, bored maintaining my weight, I always just kind of look at the skills that I use, like, for instance, exercise, and say, okay, well, how can I deepen my relationship with exercise? Can I learn a new aspect of exercise? Can I lift a heavier weight? Can I challenge myself by running a little further? Can I do a more advanced version of what I'm doing with regards to food? There's often, I'll deepen my skills there's so many things with food. Right now I'm really focusing on longevity. So I've learned more about what foods to eat that are, aligned with longer lives. That's a whole other episode. I'll attack that. I'll share the book I'm reading with you. But yeah, so I'm kind of tweaking the way I'm eating right now. And it always challenges me. I have been maintaining my weight now, a 40-pound weight release, for 27 years. And in that time, I've radically reshifted and deepened my relationship with food. I have a much better understanding of all foods and how they interact in my body. That's from observing and being a scientist about that. I'm really more clear, like, what supplements I need to eat or take to augment my health and maintain my blood sugar and to keep my muscles good. So that's what I'm saying is, don't ever tell me, well, I'm bored with the food. You're being boring with the food. And I don't mean this in a mean way. I mean to inspire you. Take that word boring away from your vocabulary. Look under the lid and start to get curious about how you can deepen your relationship with the aspects of the skills that because I really look at weight mastery as developing skills, not being good on something, right? Like not being good on a diet. So what are the skills that you're practicing and how can you deepen them? And to add to that idea, I was just looking at my notes. In our monthly mastery group, we do a challenge every month. We challenge ourselves. We'll challenge. What did we do? We did a measuring challenge to measure our food, because a lot of food packaging actually, ironically, is inaccurate. So we all discovered that when we did the challenge. But it's this idea that we're over practicing a skill that we may not be doing or that we don't do very often, just to sharpen that skill so that, when you measure something and then you stop measuring, you have a much better idea of how much you're putting in your body and your mouth, because our eyeballs are not very accurate judges. And as we discovered, neither are the packages that foods are. The FDA can be FDA has said that food companies can be up to 25% inaccurate in their calorie reporting and their nutritional reporting. So bear that in mind. But, we did that challenge and we learned something from that challenge. We deepened our skill. And that's what I mean by challenging yourself. There's nothing boring about weight mastery journey. It's a hero's journey. And I know I'm saying that many, many times, but I want you to get it. Let's see. Now, the other thing that you might be feeling boring about, or that the feeling of boredom might be coming from, is your inner rebel resistance, is a cover up for different feelings. So it might not really be boredom, but boredom seems a lot safer than the other feelings that might be going on. We have this inner rebel within us. I know we talk about the inner critic a lot. Well, in our inner rebel is that part of us that wants to say, it's not fair. Being on a diet's not fair. It's boring. I want to be free. I want to be free to eat whatever I want. It's not fair. It's not fun. I don't want to. Sucks. So everybody gets to do it and I don't, right? Here's what you want to do. is you want to acknowledge your inner rebel. You don't want to push it down because it just gets louder, haven't you noticed? But you can acknowledge them, say, oh, okay, you're not having fun. I get it. Or you want to be free. I understand. Oh, you don't want to do this. I really understand. Because I think the more you acknowledge that part of you, the more it quiets down. It's kind of like a child. When they feel acknowledged, they kind of calm down. So once you do that, I want you to take that child, that little inner rebel within you, and I want you to walk with them through to the end. Like, oh, I don't want, it's not fair. It's not fun. I want to eat that chocolate chip cookie. It looks so good. Yum, 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 yum. Okay, inner rebel. Well, let's think about that. Okay, we could eat that cookie, but then, how's it going to taste? Oh, it's going to taste amazing. Okay. Well, how's it going to feel after we eat the cookie? Well, maybe our blood sugar is going to be spiked. Maybe we're going to feel a little full. Or, feel a little off and balanced. And how are we going to feel tomorrow? How are we going to feel then? And when you walk through like a binge, or when you walk through overeating, when you walk through a food choice, or when you walk through a lot of these things with your inner rebel through to the end, when I call it the end, past the fun part, what you're really doing is retraining your mind to think the long game versus the short game. Our inner focus, our dopamine center is so focused on impulsive short-term gratification. But when we start to acknowledge this part of ourselves and we start to pause, acknowledge the desire, and then walk that desire through to the end point, often that desire for that thing, the color sort of drains out of it, so to speak. That rebellious part of us becomes a little more rational and willing to actually get curious about something that would really be fulfilling rather than what it thinks would be fulfilling. And focus how powerful what you're doing is. Not shameful, but how powerful it is. You don't have to do it. You can say to your inner rebel, you get to do it. You're really dealing with a childlike part of yourself. So you can talk to that part. Say, you're on this powerful journey. Isn't that exciting? So much of our journey of weight mastery is the way we communicate with ourselves. We can beat that rebel down. We can say, shut up. We can try to put it in the closet, but it's still going to be there, still going to be banging. It's much better to be reasonable and rational with it and to let it have a voice, but to also be the parent and to say, I got that. Yeah, you really want to do that. Well, let's think that through. Is that really the best? And is that really aligned with who we are becoming? And often, like I said, that rebel calms right down. So I hope you didn't find this boring. I hope this was helpful for you. And speaking of which, if you want some shows from me, well, let me know. I'm many things, but I'm not a mind reader. So if you're sitting here going, God, I wish you would talk about XYZ, well, there is a place in the show notes where you can just say, Rita, will you talk about XYZ? And I will take you up on it. It might not be the next episode, but I will read your request and I will do my best to take you up on it. So please let me know. And please share in the show notes any other comments or questions. Just go for it. I'd love to hear from you. Have an amazing week and a very exciting week and a non-boring week. And remember that the key, and probably the only key to unlocking the door of the weight struggle, is inside you. So keep listening and find it. If you want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release, head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com, where you'll find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking, Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss.